So one of the questions I get a lot from my subscribers is how do you keep your knives sharp on a daily basis? So I'll show you guys exactly what I do in my personal kitchen, and you guys can decide if that's something that's right for you. There are many ways to go about it. There's never one way to do anything, but this is a method that I have found that has worked really well. And so I'll show you what I used to do and what I currently do, and I'll explain to you why I actually do it. So I've got two knives here. Both of them are fairly sharp. I'll do a really quick cut test to show you guys that. But for the most part, daily knife maintenance is really simple. It's something you guys can do with just about 1 or 2 minutes of your time. So this is actually what I did. I still do it actually quite often. I don't do it every single day now, but I do it every 3 to 4 days just because my time is actually quite tight these days in the mornings, especially when all the kids are up and everyone's trying to get fed at the same time. So what I normally do, so actually before I go through the process, let me just show you what I have here. So I've got a piece of wood that I'll use to dull the knives with, and I also have my brick. The brick will actually get used a little bit today. I may or may not use it just depending on how much wear I actually want to put onto the knives. And I have some strops here. So these are strops that I actually made. I couldn't really find good strops on Amazon. A lot of them were just really expensive for what they charged, and they were just really crappy material. So I went out and bought the best leather I can find and some good hardwoods at a local supplier here. And so I have about a dozen of these left. I actually had to make a few of them because, as you guys know, cost comes down when you make more. And so I made it about 2 dozen of them to begin with. So I have about a dozen left. They work really well. But today we're going to be using the strop with the compound, the stropping compound. I used the NK. So I bought this NK for, I think, for like $9 on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. It's actually working really well. And I didn't want to go all out and buy like 3 or 4 different compounds. I basically just want to buy a compound that is going to be giving me a good result for just one compound. And so I bought this one. It was my only compound that I purchased so far, and it actually works really well. I am going to be picking up some DMT and other diamond stone compounds. They actually are on their way here, so hopefully in a few weeks I'll have a comparison between different sharpening compounds out there, or polishing compounds. And I've got my Trocero 3000. And so today's comparison will be between the Trocero and the Strop. And yeah, so that is it. So let me show you the knives right now before we begin. They are both fairly sharp from a previous video I did. So very, very clean. And I think they're both polished on a Shapton Glass 6000. So yeah, very, very, very clean. Well, one was on the 6000 and one was on the Trocero 5000, I think. But as you can see, both knives are actually fairly sharp. We'll toss this aside. Never mind that. Okay, so then now we will dull the knives. And so I'll run the knives. So that's that. I wouldn't recommend you doing this at home with a lot of pressure on your board, but I'm doing it just for the sake of this video. Alright, let's see how the knives look. Okay, so they're still fairly sharp. So I'll brick them. So this is my brick. You guys know the brick. Here, I'll just hold it here. Okay, I'll do it 10 times. I think that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, I get so much flack from people saying that I can't count. You know, you try doing a YouTube video, talking at the same time and counting when counting on the brick doesn't really matter. Okay, so here we are. So this knife, I actually didn't mean to wear these knives as much as I did, but they are probably worn beyond what you would normally get after a day's use. So this video was really more for those who want to maintain their knives every single day. And so I may have just screwed that up, but that's okay, that's all right. So both knives are very, very dull. Just to show you now, or dull in my definition of dull. Okay, so they're very dull. And this would be appropriate for going on the 1000 grit stone at this point, but I'm going to go from here and hopefully I can achieve a decent edge. So the goal of this was for people who are mainly those who are professionals who have don't have a lot of time in the mornings before their work day, or for those who are like me, who want a sharp knife every single day. And so basically, when you wake up in the morning and you only have, let's say, you're in work, you only have 5 minutes to get ready. How do you make sure that your knives stay sharp? And you can go through a sharpening process. Now, if you had time in your restaurant and you had time to prepare 15 minutes, 20 minutes to actually prepare your knives, that's one story. But most people who are just getting to work may only have 5 minutes to get ready before they have to start cooking. And so this is where this technique comes in. Normally, I wake up in the mornings and when my knives aren't this dull, I actually just hop on my stone. I actually have a splash and go stone, usually just underneath my kitchen cabinet. And oh, here we are. So I soak my stone, or I apply water to my stone. This is appropriate for a splash and go. If you have a soaking stone, this would not be the best method because they take time to prepare, unless you have that time in your workday. So you throw some water on your stone, and all I normally do is actually get into the mornings, with my knives that are fairly sharp, and I just simply strop. Okay, and I'll do this for about 2 to 3 minutes. And this usually will give you a fairly good edge, but as you can see here, it's taking off a lot of material because I actually was, I shouldn't have bricked this knife for this demonstration, but I will. But I did. So I'm just gonna try to just run with it, see how I do. I might have to do something a little different later. But this is what I do in the mornings. I walk into my kitchen and I have a few minutes. I will just spend about a minute max doing this to the knives in my kitchen, or per knife. And this will usually result in a fairly clean edge. And you guys are probably wondering, should you use a higher grit stone? You can, but for my personal knives, in case you guys are not aware, I use the Tercero 800 for my sharpening and the 3000 for my polishing. I don't really go beyond that because I like the way the 3000 grit leaves, the finish that it leaves, and also because it's just a very good fast cutting stone. So for me, 6000 is nice. I don't really care for the mirror polish of most 6000 grit stones. Okay, so I don't know how many that is. That's probably 15 strokes on each side. And draw the knife off really quickly here. Oh, by the way, it is about 9 a.m. right now, and it is 90 degrees outside. That's why I have a fan going. Hopefully the fan won't affect the sound too much, but it is brutally hot. And if I didn't have the fan going on right now, I would not be able to film this this episode. Okay, so it's fairly sharp. Again, it's not something that I don't normally brick my knives. And normally when I do this method, the knives are a little bit sharper than what I approach the stone with. So overall though, you can see that just with a minute of stropping will give you a pretty clean edge on a 3000 grit stone. Okay, and this paper is falling apart. Okay, so that's what I normally do in the mornings with my stones and my knives. Recently though, since I started making my own strops, I have been experimenting and seeing if a leather strop will actually produce similar or better results. So we're going to find out. That's the knife there. So just so we are clear, this is the edge right now. Okay, so let's move this aside. And so I'm going to do the same thing. So imagine you're getting into work and you have a couple minutes to get ready. You have hopefully a fairly sharp knife, maybe not super sharp, but definitely sharper than what we have here. And you simply pull out your strop. You load with compound, or hopefully the compound's been loaded. You actually can do it without compound. The compound just makes it work a little bit faster. I have found that the strop without compound will work, I would say with compound it's about 30-40% faster in terms of overall speed, but the result is pretty much the same. Okay, so you simply strop. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to go back and forth, one at a time, or one stroke at a time. And I'll go, let's say 15 counts on each side. And if I'm off, forgive me, I can't count, okay? So that's not something I care too much about. And to address another question, one of my subscribers asked, why do I do a J motion when I'm doing an edge trailing strop? The answer is actually quite simple. It may not be something you guys have thought about. Doing a J motion actually allows me to pull the tip of the knife along the strop or the stone and come up And so it allows the tip to be sharpened, but not to dig into my stone or my strop. And so you basically, what you're doing is you're pulling away from the tip, and then you're coming up. Okay? So if you guys never heard anyone explain it this way, that's why I do it this way. I don't know if anyone else has actually talked about that, but that's why I do the J strop or the J motion. Okay, so all you're doing is you're protecting the tip from digging into the stone, or you're protecting the strop from getting a hole in it. So that's all it is. There's no magic there. It's not something that that is really special. All it is you're protecting the stone or the edge or the tip. You can also go from heel to tip as well. That works just as well. And whatever you're comfortable with, just do it. It's just something that I'm used to my muscles going this way because I taught myself how to sharpen and strop this way. So it's something that I can do very easily. And the key to stropping successfully is you are applying as little pressure as possible. You're basically just allowing the knife's edge to kiss the strop or the stone. Okay, so very, very light, and there is no pressure at all. I'm simply letting the knife edge just run along the strop. Okay, I don't know how many that is. Hopefully that's around 15, maybe 20. So there is some compound there. I will leave the compound on. Actually, I should get the compound off. All right. Now it's wet. Okay. Okay, so fairly sharp. So you can see there. Okay, so that's from the brick. That obvious skip there, that's from me bricking the knife. And again, this should not, you should not have, or I should not have applied the brick on the cutting edge, but you can see the knives are fairly sharp. So at this point, you know, like I said, the dullness of this knife was more like a week or 2 weeks worth of use at this point. Normally, I shouldn't have applied the brick to it, but you can see how it works. Let me do a couple things. Let me just, yeah, I can definitely feel that the edge is a little bit rougher than it should be. The brick does damage the cutting edge quite a bit. So I'm going to throw it onto a 3000 grit stone. And I'm just going to do a really quick sharpening session on this thing. Okay, I'm just going to go 10 times on each side. Yeah, 10 strokes. Okay, I'll do that a few times. Hopefully that will take off, or it should take off the major imperfections on the cutting edge. Okay, that's 5. I'm just counting down now. Okay. Okay, let's go 1. This is a really quick sharpening session. Okay, so let's see how the edges. Okay, so very clean. So definitely the edge is back. There's no skipping. Yeah, no major skipping on the paper. Actually, yeah, no skipping at all. So, so that's what I normally do in the mornings, or I go single strokes. But you can see within 30 seconds, less than a minute of sharpening on that stone, the edge is back to normal. It's very, very nice. So now we'll try this again without the brick. And so, oh, the poor wood's falling apart. This is a scrap wood that I picked up from the local hardware store here, but very, very soft stuff. I don't know what it is, but it's leaving flakes all over my table. Okay, that's not good. Okay, so let's see what we got. It's still fairly sharp. So that is the goal. Okay, so imagine you wake up in the morning and you go to your kitchen and you have 1 minute to get ready. Okay. So, let's pull this knife on the brick 3 times. Let's try 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Let's see how we do here. Let's see how we did. Okay, so it's actually, even though it can still cut the paper, it's actually quite rough. Okay, yeah, you guys can definitely tell. Okay, so this should work. This right here. So you go into your kitchen in the morning at work or just your home kitchen, and you have a knife. You have a couple minutes to get ready before you cook. Pull out your strop or your stone. Either way works. So this is the strop. I will strop the knife just a few times. Let's move this over here. I'll go, let me just count 12 times on each side. So that was 2. Okay, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did we say 12 times? 11. I hope I said 12. Okay, so that is 12 times, and we will do a really quick wipe here. Okay, there we go. See, very, very clean, and that took what, 12 times on each side, 1 second. That took less than a minute. Less than a minute of work. And your edge is back to normal, or back to the, hopefully close to the original polish of the knife before you actually, or before I bricked it, which is on a 3000 grit stone. So that's what I do, and you know, that's something I do. I don't do that every day because I don't have time to do that every day. Like I said, I do this. I use this method about every 3 to 4 days, and it has kept my knives really, really sharp in the kitchen. And it typically works better for Japanese knives, mainly because Japanese knives can hold an edge better. And so, you know, so as to which knife you should use it with, if you have knives with a Rockwell rating of 59 and up, I think this method will work really well. That's my daughter. She's going to the... She's saying, "Daddy, come." She's going to the Kids Space Museum with my wife and the twins. So, I lost my train of thought. So, I don't know how long this video is, but I think it's gonna be less than 20 minutes. Yeah. You guys appreciate my longer videos, don't you? You know, I don't skip anything. You see everything. Hopefully you guys appreciate that. Let me know if you guys do, or if you guys don't. So yeah, this is what I do. And so, oh yes, so HRCs. So knives that are typically in the 59 and up, this would work better because you can just do it once a day when you wake up, or at the evening, before you go to bed, or before you leave work. So that works really, really well. For a knife with a Rockwell rating of 58 and below, you're better off just using something like just a rod, a ceramic rod, and you go into work, and before every cooking, you know, you just simply do this, and then every few hours you can go back and just do it really quickly, because knives with a Rockwell rating of 58 and below, they actually work really, really well on your rods, whether ceramic or steel. And because they actually are fairly soft, the cutting edge will fall out of realignment fairly quickly, so you may not have a minute to actually hop onto your stone or your block or your stropping block and, you know, and strop for a minute. You might just have 10 seconds before you actually go to your next meal, right? So if you have a European style knife, I think that a rod will work better for you. But if you have a Japanese knife and you simply just want to make sure that you can spend 1 minute a day where you can keep a knife really sharp, again, this is, I found, the best method that I have used, and I use it in my personal kitchen as well. I'm curious to see how the cutting edge is after that. Okay, see? So a ceramic rod is good for certain knives, definitely not good for Japanese knives. You can see here the cut is actually fairly rough. So let's try it again. Let's see here. That's actually, I should have done that from the beginning. You see, I'm always learning on my channel. So let's just do it 10 times on each side. Okay, I think that was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's see. There you go. See, very clean, very easy to do, and that is really nice. Really beautiful edge there. This knife right now can be used in any kitchen, anywhere. That's a rough spot there. Okay, see? So that's very easy to do. It's definitely something that you guys should consider. Whether you use a stropping block or a whetstone, it doesn't really matter. The key is going into your kitchen and spending just a minute and just polishing the edge before your workday starts or your day starts. And that's how I maintain my knives. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. I will leave the links of everything I've used here in the description so you guys can check them out on your own time. Except the brick. The brick is mine. This is not for sale. And yeah, so a lot of folks have asked me to buy this brick. It's a brick. Don't buy it from me. Just go to your local hardware store and pay 50 cents for one. Even though they don't make bricks like this anymore. This has like big concrete chunks in it. Yes, and yeah, so you can't find bricks like that anymore. So that is it. Again, these are things that you guys can do on your own time. It's really easy. Stropping blocks are affordable. It's a really cheap way to do it. If you guys don't want to spend money and pay 150 bucks for a 3000 Trocera, you can spend 40-50 bucks on a 5,000, 6,000 grit stone. I find that the strops are a little bit more usable and a little bit more easier to use because they are more forgiving than a whetstone, and they don't require any sort of water maintenance, anything. You load up the surface once with your compound, and then once a week, I have found that once a week I apply just a dab of mineral oil, and I just rub the stone on the entire surface of the block, not stone. I rub the entire surface of the block, and it pulls off a lot of the load up, and it allows new compound to be exposed. And that's really all I do these days in terms of maintaining my knives in my kitchen. So hopefully you guys have found this video helpful. If you guys did, please give the video a thumbs up, and leave your comments. Let me know what other methods that you guys have found that has worked really well for you. And again, you guys know I read all my comments, so yeah, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you guys think of this method here, and let me know what you guys use for your personal knives. Okay, so catch you guys in the next video. There's a helicopter flying over me just when I hit the record button. Oh, why does this always happen? Go away. Go away, go away. It's probably a ghetto bird, you know, trying to catch someone in a high-speed pursuit around here. Okay, it's gone.